Okay, so this is the anger bag, okay? I developed this intervention because I was working with so many children who were so angry, okay? Anger is a defense against pain. They're saying, I don't want to feel vulnerable. I need to be defensive. It's too scary for me to feel anything, because really what they think is going to happen is they're going to completely fragment to pieces. So we want to help them manage that anger, give them some coping skills so they can slowly chip away at the wall that they've put up, their defenses between them and themselves, between their feelings and themselves, because they do need to integrate it, like I've said before. Okay, so the anger bag is, and as you can see in your handout, I really broke it down for you so that you can really work on specific goals and work on symptoms, symptom reduction, symptom increase. You know, what we want to do is create self-awareness, create management here, create a sense of self-reliance and self-regulation. So what you'll need is a bag, and as you can see, I used to make these bags, and I had patented it at one point, and I was making these bags, but that's a whole nother business. I'm not in the business of making bags. So you'll need any type of bag. I usually use the color red for anger. I use 4 basic feelings in my office. And why do I do this? Because again, these kids are so overwhelmed. They need structure in this limbic brain that is irrational. There's no structure. So I say red is anger, blue is for sadness, yellow is for happiness, and purple is for fear. Black is really, really, really scared. So when we're making pictures, when I'm utilizing a color in an intervention, just so they can organize their feeling states. So that's why I made the anger bag red, because it pretty much is an associative color with anger. So what you need is the bag, a pillow, and I'll show you how that works. So you'll need a pillowcase, paper to rip from an old phone, any phone book, paper. You can find these. I steal them from the grocery store all the time. Play-Doh, red Play-Doh, bubble wrap, bubbles, and index cards for anger busters. And anger busters, where are they? Oh, here. Hi, come on in. Come in, have a seat. There's plenty of seats over here in the front row. Anger busters are, what you can do for these is you can use any index cards, okay? I made them up a little special, and I'm going to give some of these out as little takeaways. I'll ask questions and see who gets them right, because these are a nice little, you just cut them and they get placed in the child's bag, and they're anger busters, and I'll get into that. So how it works is you're going to tell the child, we're going to make a bag that has a lot of stuff for you to do for your angry feelings. Now, one of the key things here is this bag is utilized not in the midst of an anger episode. They can't do it. It doesn't work. This is used by a parent, social worker, therapist when they know a child's experienced anger and they teach them how to express it, because they need to be in their logic brain to do this. They're not going to be able to do it when they're in their irrational, illogical brain, okay? So this is an exercise you're going to do for parents on a daily basis. We're going to let out some anger today. They don't have to be angry at that moment. We're going to do it, and we're going to connect. When we get angry, we express it. But research has found when children are in a behavioral episode, the midst of a temper tantrum, there is nothing you can do to change that temper tantrum, to calm down that. You have to wait it out. This research recently came from England. You have to wait it out. So you have to be there with the child. Yes, consoling them. Yes, letting them know you're there. But there's nothing like scream into a pillow, they're not going to be able to do it. After the fact, yes, you had a lot of anger today. Let's let some of that out by screaming it into a pillow. So the first one is scream pillow. So what I do with kids is I get a blank pillowcase, and I have them write on one side of the pillowcase, this is my scream pillow. They decorate it and you use those Sharpie pens. They love it. You can punch this pillow. You can say names into this pillow. You can say why you're angry into this pillow. This is serving as a container, a place where the child can project into, and pillows are always safe. Come on in. Oh, come on. Yeah, you can sit maybe over there. Okay, this is in their room. It's not for sleeping with, so it's not their sleeping pillow. It's for anger to project into. How many kids go to their room when they're angry? A lot. They have to leave the area. They can go, they can punch this pillow, they can scream into it, say words. I usually model for the child how to do it. And if I know a child's been having anger about a specific issue, I will show them how to do it. You know, with this population, we need to be direct. They need to hear from the big people. It's okay to say this, to express it, and it's okay to recognize and acknowledge I have this feeling inside of me. I need to express it. So for instance, I've worked with kids that the birth father doesn't show up for the visit and the child is devastated and let down repeatedly. Well, I'm going to say, you know what? I could imagine you have big feelings and thoughts about your dad not showing up for the visit. So I'm going to show you how you do this. You're going to scream into the pillow and I'm going to do it for you first. I'm going to model for them. So a lot of these kids don't feel that they can do it, but once they see us do it, they can do it. They need that oomph, that drive. So I'll say, I'm so mad that my dad didn't show up for the visit. Ugh! And I'll show them how. And I play with them. You know, a lot of this work is helping them transform. We have to be playful. It's really, really important. Okay, so that's the scream pillow. So the next one is paper to rip. Paper to rip is, again, phone book, and the child opens it up. They rip out a few pieces, and first they can say words, or first they don't have to say words. Again, I want to follow the child's leads and express, I feel mad because. And this is where I'm also teaching kids I messages. An I message is saying with an I phrase, I feel mad, I feel sad, I feel scared. They need the language and they need the direction. So if they want to throw it up in the air and just think of something they're mad at, that's fine. If they want to rip it up and say what they're mad at, that's great. Now, one of the things with this is, this needs to be designated in a certain part of your house. The child can't just go and rip up paper. It needs to be contained. There needs to be some rules around this, that this is used with the parent in the room. The parent is present. If the parent does feel that they can utilize this skill on their own, you have a bucket for the feelings. And when I say bucket, I don't mean a trash bin, because their feelings aren't garbage. They matter. So it's going to go somewhere, not the garbage. And one of the things that I do with this intervention is this. When I do this in my office and I tell the child, you can make the biggest mess in my office. I want you to rip up this phone book and let out all those feelings. They love it. You need to entice them. You need to give them permission to let it out. It's cathartic. It's what they need. Wow, I can really have whatever big feeling I want here? Yes. And guess who's gonna pick them up? Mom or dad, whichever parent is in the room. Why? Because what we're going to do when the child scattered the ripped paper around the room is we're just going to sit and look and go, wow, look at all these big, big feelings. And sometimes when I have a parent who's not really understanding what it feels like, I go, I'm going to ask mom or dad to sit in the middle of those feelings and sit in it. I have had a lot of moments for parents. They're like, wow, I get it now. It's so overwhelming. And the parent, then I ask them to pick up the pieces and I ask them to put it in, again, a pillowcase. And the parent can kiss the papers. It's pretty silly, but it works. And the child sits and watches. And the parent picks up the pieces and can say, I understand these feelings. Thank you so much for sharing them. And they put them in the bag. After all the papers are picked up, I ask the parent to write something on the bag. And these are going to be feelings that the parent is holding on to. We understand. I hear you. I love you. So what I do is I instruct parents. They're going to hold on to these big, big feelings. They're going to keep them close to them in their room. And throughout the week, I ask a parent to hold it. When they see the child, they show the child. You don't have to say anything. It's so powerful for these kids to go, wait, is that my dad with my feelings right there? He's holding my feelings. What I'm helping children psychologically internalize is I have a caregiver with a continuity of care who's not abandoning me, who's holding on to me. Really important for these kids who've had multiple placements. They don't feel that someone is holding on to them psychologically. That's what this does. So I really like this intervention. This is an intervention in and of itself, part of the anger bag that's been expanding. And a lot of these interventions do that. They just keep opening up because there's so much room here to grow. And as you can see, these are creative. We're all creative. You can find something within this and go, wow, okay, I could do a whole session or a whole intervention just on this one piece. So that's the paper to rip. So the next one is paper to draw. Again, what I did was I researched all of the ways that a child can express their angry feelings. I'm teaching them coping skills. You can do this, 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 or this, rather than hitting, punching, screaming, bitching, and moaning. There are things you can do. And as adults, we need this too. So, paper to draw. You're just giving them a pad of paper. I've clipped like just regular printer paper together. And in your next page, I have paper to draw a picture about my feelings. You can just copy that, paste it on the front of this book. It goes in their bag. Paper to draw. It can be words. It could be pictures. I also ask families to, if a child is verbally aggressive, cursing, saying some foul things, allow them to put it in here. We need to meet them where they are. That's what they learned maybe in their birth family. But there's a place for it. Not with other people in your family, but if you really need to express that, put it in here. I mean, how many times as adults do we use cursing? And we need to learn too. It's not appropriate. There's a time and a place for it, alone in your bedroom or in your paper, on your paper. And we want to teach children there are boundaries. You can have those thoughts and feelings, because that's something you learn. You can put it in here. That they won't get in trouble for it, okay? Play-Doh Rip Squish Spaghetti. And I just created this little cute name. Play-Doh is a really good resource for kids. It allows them to express, get it out, and with a sensory tool. Play-Doh really helps a child with proprioceptive input. A lot of these kids have sensory dysregulation. They need things where they feel pressure, like falling onto pillows, pressing into things. So Play-Doh is a good tool for them. So what I do is I tell them, and I'll entice them. I go, I'm going to show you, because you're showing them everything that's in the bag first. I'm going to show you what I brought here today. This is how it works. This is, you rip it, you squish it, and you make it spaghetti, just like that. See? And I kind of say, I'm going to show you 2 more times. And the kids usually are like, well, I want to try. The younger ones. But I keep showing them, and I'm like, oh, and I'm going to get all those feelings in there. It actually feels really good to just let it out. We all carry stress and tension, and we need a release. So this is a nice way for them to do it. They can create their own name for whatever they want to call it, so that they have their own tool that they can use to release that anger. Okay, anger buster poppers. Now I'm showing you there are 16 interventions in this bag, coping skills. What I typically do is I have a child choose 3. They don't need all of them. I'll show them and I'll go, what feels good to you? What do you think you could use for your anger? What am I doing? I'm getting them to think and connect the dots for them, because not everything is going to work for them. So I let them choose, and I'm also helping them place value on this bag, because this is important. What 3 things will work for you? I love poppers. Have you ever used these for fun? You get to pop them. So they have some in their bag. And I tell them, I educate them that, because what am I educating them on? We have stress cortisol flooding in our body. When we get really mad, there's little cells of stress going in our whole body. So each one of these represents the stress in our body. So they get to pop them out. We're going to pop all those stress cells in our body. So I let them squeeze it. Ugh. Some kids even want to put it on the floor. I let them take their socks, their shoes off, and stamp them out. What does this do? This transforms that cortisol into oxytocin, the love, playful hormone, which is what we want to teach them. That's the psychotropic medication, is teaching them coping skills so they don't have to rely on medication. But as some kids do need medication, I don't want to rule out medication, but we want to give them coping skills and give them an opportunity so they can do it on their own and self-regulate. So this is a really fun tool, popping. And again, I'm letting out a lot of stress right here. It's fun. So that's a good one. The next one is anger buster cards. Anger buster cards, and here are a list of 7. Basically, the child writes on one side, anger buster, and on the other side, what they do, what the action is. So here, scream as loud as I can on my scream pillow. These are suggestions. These are what I found in research. I typically ask the child first, before I give them suggestions, what do you think will help you? What do you need when you're having big angry feelings? And ask them. I want to go run. I need to run. I need to ride my bike. Great. So then they have that coping skill, and it's come from them. That to me is more important than the suggestions I have. If they're stuck, they need my help. Then I'm going to feed them, be direct, and give them any of these suggestions. So you can use index cards, or you can type them up like I did. But I'll be giving out a few more of these, so you'll have them. And then so then you ask the child, what 3 things do you want to put in your bag and utilize to express and help let out your anger? So I let them choose. Now, another thing that I do, and I'm going to share this to you right now, which is not here, is I create these experience books for kids. I am the boss of my anger book. And then we do the I message, I'm angry, and I'll pass this around. I take a picture of the child angry. I feel like kicking when I'm mad. I show his poor coping skill, because this is an experience book, is showing the course of events. Then I show, I am the boss of my anger, so I will draw my anger. Then I'm transforming a new narrative, a new association. I can draw when I'm mad. I am the boss of my anger. I can rip up and release my anger. Rip up paper. And I take pictures of the child doing this. Parents can do it. Really, really helpful. And then the child can go to this resource and look up and read it. You know, part of, and then I feel better now. Part of emotional intelligence is repetition. Bruce Perry, who's a leading psychiatrist in the field, says it takes repetition over and over and over to learn a new idea. Just like we learn 2 + 2 is 4, we need to learn when I have anger, I rip up paper. When I have anger, I draw it. When I have anger, I go to my room and scream it in my pillow. They have an association. That's why you have to build this coping skill when they're not in the midst of the anger, because that's the mistake that parents do. It's not working. Well, are you practicing it when they're not angry? That's the tool here. So here's this book if you want to take a look at it. Thank you, Rebecca. And here, I can pass around these cards. Oh, here. No, that's okay. That's good. Okay, so at the end, after the child has picked the 3 coping skills that they want to utilize, they're put in the bag. The bag is placed in a specific place in the house, in their room, wherever you know it's going to be kept safe, and it's going to be used only for this purpose, because it's not a toy. And if a parent needs to put it in the kitchen or somewhere safe, that's okay. We want to really value what this bag is about. So that's the anger bag. We'll take some questions later. If you have questions, just hold on to them and we'll come back to that. Okay, so next, and you can see you have paper to draw a picture about my angry feelings, paper to rip to release my angry feelings on the front of the phone book. And now we'll move on to the next intervention. This one I developed pretty much out of my own understanding as an adopted person myself, who was adopted. I had so many questions, and I didn't know, how, number one, how to express them, how to ask them, because adoptees feel guilty when they ask their parents about their birth families because they don't want to hurt them or reject them. They have an allegiance to the birth family, but they don't want their adoptive families to feel rejected by them. So a lot of kids just keep these questions inside of them and do not let them out. But they're sitting with these questions. So this is to get the child to externalize these questions, have them be acknowledged and heard, and hopefully get some answers. Because that's integrating their stories and their narratives, and they need it. It's a need. So what you need is 2 boxes of any kind. I, as you can see, use old tissue boxes, and they work great. I tell the child, we're going to make a question box for you, because I could imagine, and I always use that phrase, because I'm letting them know, I know you're probably thinking about this. I'm not saying I know you're thinking, but I'm imagining. I'm creating that space for them. So this is safe. That they could be asking, they have a lot of questions about their stories, about their histories, and we're going to put them in a box, and we're going to write them down, and keep them here and keep them safe. So the first thing that we're doing is using, again, index cards, real simple, with your box. Get a pen out. And what I typically do is start with some easy questions for kids. I don't go right into the stuff, like, you know, why can't I eat pizza for breakfast? Or another one was, and I have so many, does it ever, oh, let's see. Well, some kids get deep really fast. One child said, "Why are you so tall?" She was a little girl. "Why are you so nice?" Interesting what they ask. "Why do you wear the same shoes every day?" So we're just having fun asking any types of questions. Then we get a little deeper. Does my mommy think about me and wonder if I'm growing into a beautiful girl? Do you have a parent that died? So it could be any question that they're holding on to. Does my birth mother look like me? Does it ever feel like your mommy died and went away? Will we meet your birth mother? Do you ever think about your birth family and wonder about them? Where do they live? Would you like me to look up your brothers and sisters? Tell me when you're ready. That's from a parent. His adoptive parent wrote that question. Do you feel safe in your own bed? That's a parent wrote that question to the child. Okay, this one, that was a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, the first questions. This one, why did I have to leave you? This is a question for the child's birth mother. Where are pictures of me when I was little? When did you have your first hug and kiss? This is a 12-year-old girl. Do I have any brothers or sisters? Did you ever like to sing? She was asking her birth mother because she wants to meet her. Where did you live before? How old are you now? I mean, think of all these questions a child is having about their birth mother. And this child, this 12-year-old girl, this middle mapping right here was double. She'd been in about 9 foster homes. This girl was carrying around a lot of questions. What did you want to be when you grew up? She's asking her birth mother. Did you have red hair? Because she has red hair. She's wondering, did I get this from my birth mother? These are 10 questions that we've now allowed her to express. Her mother's in the room, her adoptive parent. And what I say is we're going to keep them in here. We're going to hold on to them. We're not going to answer them now. Why do I do that? Because I want the child to know we're holding on to them. And also, this is a great stalling process for parents. Because what tends to happen is the parent gets this question and they answer it and they answer too much. They give too much information and they feel scared, they feel anxious. They don't know how to answer it. It's a stalling process. So now the parent knows what the questions are. They can start preparing answers if they, number one, have them. We don't always have all of these answers. And if the child, what I typically do is ask the child, is there any question that you really want answered first? Then we can start with that one. Because I'll tell you, sometimes I have this other children's box. This was a 6-year-old boy. We did this, and when I asked him, and he did a pretty good amount of questions. When I asked him, is there any question you want the answer to? He put his hands on his ears and said, no! He didn't want any answers. It was too scary for him. So I said, we're going to hold on to these. When you're ready, you let us know. So he's also feeling a sense of control in this. They're being heard, held, acknowledged. It's what they need. And this child had been in 3 foster homes. How come my brother didn't go to my foster family's house? How come I had to leave my birth family? I mean, really big questions that parents are like, how do I answer that? It gives them an opportunity. Okay, we're just going to put the question in here and hold it for now. It's great. Parents love this tool. And clinicians as well, because then we can all the big people, discuss how do we want to relay this information, because sometimes these kids' stories, as you know, are a lot of difficult information. And how do we relay it back to the child so they can digest it and not be traumatized by it? And they may need a lot of education. I always say, when you're going to give a child information about a birth mother who was either using drugs or was sexually abused or sexually abused the child is educated first about those subjects. So they really understand the cause and why anyone would take those actions in their lives. So that when they hear the information from their birth, their birth parent was associated with that action, they can make sense of it. Oh, that's right. People who do drugs are masking or numbing their feelings. Oh, my birth mom was using drugs because she had a lot of big feelings. They can make sense of it. Because to hear that information without the education can cause secondary trauma. They'll go, and then they think, what ends up happening, if they're not educated, they'll end up doing it. They'll end up abusing drugs, alcohol, or become a sexual abuser themselves. And we do not want that to happen. Okay, so wrap me up in love. So Rebecca, I'm going to need you again. Okay, so this one, and if you could sit there, I had an idea. How do I help these children feel felt? Because that's a big piece of it. They're so numb to experience with another person that they need a lot of sensory tools so that they can feel connected and start feeling their bodies and feel love from another person. So what we do is I call this wrap me up in love. And the child literally gets wrapped up in toilet paper into a little mummy. And the parent does the wrapping. And I'll show you how that's done. So first I ask the child, who wants to be wrapped? Do you want to be wrapped? We're going to wrap each other up like mummies today. Some kids don't want it. They're a little scared. So I have the parent do it first. And then it models for them that they can do it. And so the parent wraps the child up, and they start at the bottom, and they're making eye contact with the child and always checking in and saying, how do you feel? Do you feel okay? Is it too tight? Do we want it to be looser? And the parent starts, and if they're working on the legs, I ask the parents to say, can you say something about your child's legs? And the parent may say, your legs work really hard every day, because I know you go to school every day and sometimes you fall and get boo-boos. I'm going to give those legs a lot of love. So as we're moving throughout the child's body, we're addressing these hands need a lot of love and attention because they're working hard at school. They sometimes, and your hands are learning how to let out those feelings by drawing them every day and learning not to hit when we have feelings. Those hands are working really hard. Let's give them a lot of love. And then when we get to the heart, does your heart need a lot of love? I'm here to give your love heart. So whatever the parent is feeling organically or naturally, they express to the child at that moment. And always checking in. How are you feeling? Does it feel good? Is it too much or you want more? You will be surprised what kids say. Do you want more or less? Are you okay with all this love? Can you handle it? Can you handle it?
Kind of.
Is it feeling a little overwhelming?
Kind of.
Okay. Well, I'll give a little bit more here because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by my love. I want you to feel good and safe in my love so that it doesn't scare you. Now, do you want your head wrapped with love? Or no? Okay. So you're always respecting the child's wishes, desires, following their lead. So when the child's wrapped up, and I've had some kids, you missed a spot. Oh, we missed a spot. That spot needs more love. Really interesting with these kids. What they ask for or what they don't want. How are you feeling with all that love?
It feels okay.
Because you are wrapped in the biggest love ever from your mom and your dad. Are you thirsty? Because you're the queen of this love. Are you thirsty? What I'm going to do is now pamper them. Are you hungry? Help them feel safe, feel good, feel nurtured. What is love? Nurture. Food is nurturing. So I'll have a sippy drink, I'll have little cookie crackers, and letting them feel safe in here, that it's okay to feel love again. I have had kids come in my office and go, I want to be wrapped up again. It's amazing. They want it over and over and over. And I'll say to parents, you can do this. All of these exercises, you don't just do once. You could do repeatedly. So the child feels that connection, builds that attachment. The parent works on bonding. This is also a tool for parents to bond with the child and the child to attach to the parent. So in the end, when we're all done, how does it feel in there? Do you feel the warmth? Is it warm in there?
Getting there.
Oh, good. So you're excited about this. Do you want to stay there? Interesting. Some kids stay. Some kids, like she was saying, feel overwhelmed. They want to get out. We want to follow their lead. Okay, are you ready to jump out? Okay, we'll count. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Okay, now that's the little kid. I've done this with 12-year-olds. 14, 15, probably not. Haven't been successful with that. But even 13, because you'll know, developmentally, these kids aren't really 14. They're developmentally 3 or 4 or 5. So sometimes they want this. Now, when the child breaks free of this love, we don't throw this in the garbage. As you can see, I am so detailed because I'm letting them know everything we do here matters. I'm valuing this. This is love. I have parents take this home. I go, oh, sometimes we have a lot. Go, whoa, look at all this love. You're so lucky. Look at all this love. We put it in something. Sometimes parents say, the mom says, I'm going to keep some in my purse. I'm going to keep some of this love in my purse. I've had kids say, I want to put some in my anger bag. I want to keep some, which is great. So we're not throwing this away like the papers to rip. We're holding on to this love. This matters. It's important. So thank you very much, Rebecca.
Now, my question
Yes.
is, if, like, say the child wants to do this for the parent. So, to express their love to the parent.
Yes.
So, have you done that?
Yes. Where a child says it's hard for them, but their action speaks louder than words because they're doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're witnessing that, you could say, wow, look at all that love you have for your mom or your dad. Wow, cool. You have such a big heart. Do you feel Jimmy's love? Do you feel her love? Mom, how does it feel to be loved by so-and-so? So you're processing this if the child's not able to put words to it, but they're doing it, which is fantastic. And I have had experience where a lot of kids do want to wrap up their parents. And it's fun. And we're connecting, and they're making eye contact. They're talking, they're communicating. It's great. Sometimes I have bows and stickers to put on the toilet paper to make it fun. When toilet paper rips, I make a big point to say, oh, let's reconnect that love. That love, we can't let that love get away. So I'll have tape, I'll have stickers. Let's connect it back. And then I talk about, can love really just disappear? Can you just cut love? Can it just go away? Love is always there. There's always love. Letting them know that you can't cut it, it can't go away. A person can go away, but your love for them cannot go away. So helping them understand there's continuity in relationship and the people we feel connected to. Animal adoption. Okay. As a therapist, as a social worker, I just felt such a need. There's so much theory. What do I do? And one of the theories that I had studied was psychoanalytic theory. Well, more object relations. And what I found was, we all have an inner child that needs love, needs attention, has its wounds. And I thought, how can I help a child love that internal part of themselves? By having them adopt something that becomes really a part of an extension of themselves. So the animal adoption is to adopt an animal in their home, create a narrative for this animal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to project all the challenges that that child has on this little guy that they need to help him with. So, for instance, if a child is afraid of the dark, I'll go, this little fella here, his name, and usually I make the name very similar to the child's name. So if it's Louis, I'll go, his name is Lionel. And he was born on June 6, 2004. The child that I'm giving this to, and I'm going to ask him first, are you willing to adopt or foster this tiger named Lionel? Because he really, really needs a home. Would you be willing? And I kind of have a desperate feeling in my voice because I really want to entice them. I've had kids say, 99% of the time, I've had them say yes. They don't want to abandon this little guy, especially when I tell them the story. And the story, as you remember, is very similar to theirs. And I've had kids go, wait, that sounds like my story. I go, yeah, it is similar, and that's why I thought you would be perfect, because you would understand him. You would get him and you would know what he needs. That's why I thought it would be great if you could foster or adopt Lionel. So he has one brother, one sister. He lived in 2 foster homes. And he was really scared. Whatever the child's challenged with, he didn't feel that the foster family was nice to him. He was upset because he really wanted to go live with his birth family, but his birth mother couldn't be an everyday mommy. She didn't know how. So teaching the child that this little guy, they can help them with because they have the similar experience. Then, in your handout, you have a little animal adoption sheet, correct? That looks like this. So you're going to put the animal's name, their date of birth. So if this guy's June 6, 2004, and the child's birth date is like June 4th, I'm going to make this June 6th. If the child that I'm giving it to has 4 siblings, I'll give this 3 siblings. If the child is scared of the dark, I'm going to make him scared of the dark. He needs a nightlight. If the child wets their bed, he wets his bed too. He gets scared. He has a lot of big feelings, and I'm going to put all this information in this box. What he needs, what he's feeling, what he likes, what he doesn't like. Kind of like what you would do if you were a potential foster adoptive parent. You're going to find out all this information about the child you're going to potentially foster and adopt. We hope. And then talk to the child about, do you think you can help him with wetting the bed? Do you think you could help him understand that it's not his fault, that he has such big feelings at night, and he's trying to figure out what to do with those big feelings, whatever it is? And I'll ask the child, and the child will usually say, yes, I can help him, I can help him. And I ask them to put it in a box or make a bed of some sort in their home, in their room, so this person, this animal, now has value in their home, okay? Because we're going to make this a live being. I have had kids run home, parents have said, oh my God, he's brought this animal home, he made a complete bed for him, he feeds him with a bottle. It becomes a long-term part of them. And what am I doing? I'm externalizing their internal child. They're taking care of themselves. They're learning to have empathy for another being. Yes, it's a stuffed animal, but if you believe it's a stuffed animal, this isn't going to work. You have to believe this is real. This is important. He's like you. When you believe it, it works. And then I'll, from time to time, say, how is Lionel doing? Because I was one of his foster moms. I found him a home. I found him your, how's he doing? See what I'm doing? I'm letting him know I'm caring. I have empathy. I'm curious. There's a continuity of care here. And sometimes they'll bring it back to my office. So whatever the child's experiencing, it gets projected onto the animal. And here on your handout, there are a number of questions you can put on here. And then at the end, I have the child decorate, stamp, sign it like you would with placement papers. This is official. And this is an official adoption, so they can also recognize the experience that happened for them as well. And then they get to keep this somewhere special in their room, that they've adopted this little guy. Now this one I found, and then what I like to do is put little tags. You could even just staple a little tag that says, hug me, I was adopted. So I usually say a lot of the time that he needs a lot of love. Even if he says no, he needs it. So please, can you give that to him? Are you capable of giving him love? Because he really needs it. And I know you have a big heart. So that's the animal adoption. Mother May I with hula hoops. Who knows the game Mother May I? Okay. Well, I thought, okay, how do I get a child to learn boundaries? How do I get a child to stop, relax, and think? Work on managing that limbic, reptilian, reactive brain. Learn impulse control. Stop, take their time, and become aware of their own bodies. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to create something, because one of the ideas that I had said, how do you teach a child boundaries? I was like, again, we have so much theory, but what do? I thought, you know what, let me use hula hoops, because again, what I feel have done is really help to understand a child's perspective. Kids need to externalize. Kids need to play. Kids need to be objective and see something past themselves to make sense of it. They need it outside of themselves. So when I thought of a hula hoop, they'll be able to think, oh, a boundary is a hula hoop. This is my space. That's your space and this is my space. So with this intervention, you need some hula hoops, some scattered toys that go around the hula hoop. You have a copy of this chart that's on your next page with all the rules. There are some, you can use poker chips or any type of chips that have different numbers, points on them. And then here's the rules chart written in words. If you have a child who cannot read yet or has difficulty with words, I make a picture chart. So one of the first Mother May I rules is each player must say Mother May I when beginning each turn. If they do that, they get 2 points. The second one, ask for a toy and wait for the answer, yes or no, and then they get 1 point. So these are all suggested points. The third, accepting a no answer without talking back. Okay? Thank you. If someone says no, you go, thank you, you accept it. Give a toy to another player, giving, using eye contact when speaking to someone, saying thank you and please, and staying in your space in the hula hoop. So sometimes I'll just scope this down and target issues or challenges that the child's challenged with. Giving, asking for a toy, using your words. Giving kind words to another player. So they specifically have pictures. I can do this, this, or this. So when I have the parent in session, they're going to be the ones who give the child the points. But this is how it works. When the child sits in their space and they look at a parent and they say, Mother, may I have that dog? First of all, they can't touch it. If they go and reach for it, can't touch it. I'm helping them stop, relax, and think. Then if they reach for the toy, they wait for the answer from the parent gives them the answer, yes or no. The child gets the animal, okay? Then before the parent gives the points, the child has to say what they get points for. That's self-awareness. They have to stop and think, what did I do? I said, Mother, may I? I asked for the toy and I didn't grab it. What am I doing? I'm teaching a child to really have self-awareness. I stayed in my hula hoop. I stayed in my space. What I also do with this intervention is I teach kids, is it okay for somebody to just go in your space? What do you say to them if they go in your space? I teach them language. This is my space that's too close. Please move. Children, we all have a right to our own physical boundary. Really important for kids to understand this too. That's why a lot of these kids, I'll tell you, who've been in foster care and or adoption feel like victims. They will continue to act out and become victimized. And they tend to get, bullied, teased a lot. We want to teach them how to have self-empowerment. They're not victims. They have a right to speak up for what's right and wrong, what doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel good when somebody comes too close. It doesn't feel good when your words hurt and cross into my boundary hula hoop. I don't like that. Please stop. One of the things that I use is the Wise Up Owl. Has anyone heard of WISE? Be wise. It's 4 steps. WISE. They all stand for something. If you're feeling bullied, you can walk away. The I is you give them an I message. I feel hurt. I don't like that. I don't like it when you walk into my space. S is you share something. You can say something to them. I don't like it when you do this. It hurts me. Please stop. Don't do that anymore. Or you go to a teacher and tell them and share it with the teacher. E is you educate that child. And the child can say, if you keep bullying people like that, you're not going to have any friends. Now, Wise Up is actually wasn't developed for kids who are bullies, kids who are feeling victimized by a bully. It was developed by, I think, the Casey Foundation for when a child is asked, are you adopted? The child can do one of 4 things. And these are all boundaries. They can, W, walk away. I don't have to answer or tell you about my life story. I, you tell them it's private. S, you say something. You can say, yes, I was adopted. And E is educate. And E could be, did you know there are 1.5 million children adopted in the United States? I mean, that instills in a child pride. So that's what WISE is for. Now, I got off on that tangent because I was teaching you about boundaries. Again, this exercise really helps a child with impulse control, helps them stop and think. And kids get very excited playing a game with points. And again, the parent is the one giving the points, but the child is the one saying what they did right. Now, if a child missed one, the parent can say, I also saw you said thank you. You get 5 points for that. At the end, when the child has their points, you know, this is not a game about conditioning. You know, if you're good, you get something. What I like about this is at the end, they get a prize, a reward, something together. It's, again, attachment. We're going to get to go out for ice cream. If you get 15 points, we're going to get to go out for ice cream tonight. But the parent has to decide what is that attachment intervention that I'll be doing with my child, and present it to the child. And I'll bet you that child's going to work to get those 15 points. And it's about being with the parent. So I really like this game. It's easy. You have your chart. I put it on a little colorful thing. Again, making this exciting. You need your hula hoops, some toys, chips, and you're good to go. So this is a great exercise to help kids who have poor impulse control and get them excited about self-awareness and stopping and thinking. And if you do have a child that has challenges, do the challenges during the exercise. Like I had like a child who says, no, I want this. You know, oh, that's right. Model. Oh, that's right. I need to wait and ask first. So you show the child what their challenge is. Not that they know you're doing it for them, but they're watching you. And they're going to go that. They'll end up correcting you, which is fantastic, and they'll show you what you're not doing right. So use yourself as a clinician, therapist, social worker, parent in this game too. It's fun. All about me affirmation cards. Now, this intervention I use a lot with teenagers. And I educate children and teenagers, on what an affirmation is. A lot of kids don't even know what it is. What am I doing? I'm teaching them, number one, how to self-regulate, how to self-talk, how to nurture themselves. I'm giving them another coping skill. So how this works is you will need some cards. However, you can use index cards. Where do my cards keep going? You can use index cards for this. As you can see, I get a little fancy. And they have these self-laminating cards you can get at like Staples. And yeah, they're great. You can get like 40 of them for like 10 bucks. And the child cuts out a piece of paper and they can write an affirmation on it and then pull this off and it seals it tight. The reason why I put them in these little plastic self-laminating cards is because so they have them accessible. They're going to get used. I developed this with a 12-year-old girl who was repeatedly going to DCFS court hearings, and she would see her birth mother who was her abuser, and it caused her a lot of anxiety, and she had to be there. So I said, let's create some cards so you can bring them with you, have them with you at the court hearing, and you can read them to yourself so you can do self-care, take care of yourself, and let yourself know this is only temporary. I'm not here for a long time. I'm just here to talk to the judge and then leave. So we developed some cards, which was, I love and approve of myself. I trust the process of life. I am safe. Because the biggest fear for her was, I am not safe. My mom is going to hurt me again. I can find the love I need. I am lovable and capable. It's okay for me to get angry. I can breathe to get calm. You know, these kids, just like we talked about with Bruce Perry's work on emotional intelligence, they need repetition. They need to tell themselves these coping skills over and over and over. And they need them to be accessible. Each day is a new beginning. I can get friends by listening. Angels are always watching over you. And I can find the love that I need. Now, what I did for you was, I have a list of affirmations that I use, that I have in my office, that I allow a child to pick from. Because it's hard to know exactly what phrase to say. But I'll tell you, I'm surprised with what these kids, they know. And I say to them, you are the best expert in your life, not me. What do you think you need as an affirmation to tell yourself when you're feeling anxious or angry? What can you tell yourself? So again, I'm going to ask them first, and if they don't know, I'll give them some ideas. I found a great list of affirmations online. Here's the website address for you, and I made copies of it. I hope I have enough. If you work together, please share the address, because I didn't put it in your handout. So basically, you do have a list here in your handout, but there's so many more on this website. It's fantastic. You can do this with any age group. I've done this with younger kids. I say 12 to 17. You can do this with 8-year-olds. It's another tool for them. Again, as you can see, they need coping skills. And so after they write, and they can be done on index cards also, after they do it, they decorate it, make it fun. What is decoration about? Valuing what we're doing, making it personal, having them connect to it. And then it could be a little bag, an envelope, whatever. I save these from gifts that I get all year long, you know. I'm always saving these little bags, and you can get them in any party store for like $1. And so the child has these, they can keep them in their pockets, in their purse. I've done this for boys, and I've had them put them in their wallets, like teenage boys, to remind themselves what to do when they feel stressed out, mad, scared, sad, what they need to do for themselves. Again, they pull it out, they can read it, they know what to do. Shadow Worlds, Part 1 and Part 2. This was developed because I was finding that, well, for all of us, we live in two worlds. We have our internal world and the external world. And like I said before, foster and adopted children live in their internal worlds. And it's very rich, and there's a lot of fantasy in there, and a lot of stuff going on. And again, I want to project it out, get it out, and also it's a tool for me to find out what's going on in here. So how I explain this, we need a large piece of oak tag, pencil, eraser. We are going to create a shadow world where they are the boss, okay? This first shadow world is the light world. It's a place where everything's safe, everything's calm, everything's good. If something comes into the space, there's a way that we can disintegrate it, okay? If anyone does any meditation, it's like going to the center of your mind where there's an oasis or a place with water, a beautiful space in your mind that you know is always nurturing, always safe, always calm, that you can go to. That's what I'm creating here. So what you do is you have a piece of oak tag and you fold it so there's two doors, because we're going to go into the mind. And I tell the child, we're going to create a world, a light world for you, and have all these great things in there. But first we need to keep it safe. So we're going to put locks. So I asked the child to put locks. And some kids put codes, all sorts of things to keep it safe because they don't want anyone going in there. Again, this tells you a lot right here. Do they trust? Do they not trust? Who do they trust with their minds and this calm, safe place? So after they make the locks, we go in. They get 2 storage buildings that have, each storage building provides them with something that they need. It's unconditional. It's always there, always filled. If they need ice cream, endless supply of ice cream. If they need video games, endless supply of video games. Very interesting what kids choose, what they need to survive. Then they are the king or the queen, and there's a castle or a place in which they live. They are the king or queen of this world. So they create a house. And then they're allowed 3 powers, and I'm just creating structure. These are basic guidelines so that I can create some structure so they can feel they can start to express themselves. And kids will elaborate, and I'll let them elaborate because they're communicating and expressing to me. 3 powers. I can fly. I can read people's minds. Really interesting what they choose. I can see through things. I can speak many languages. I can sense danger quickly. I can make things appear or disappear. I can run fast. I can be invisible. That seems to be a common one. I can be invisible with a lot of the kids I've worked with. They also have, they can invite 5 people who are welcome into this world. And it's interesting who they choose, because that's an indication of who they do trust, who they do feel safe with. But there are kids that say, maybe there's 1 or 2, but I allow them, you can allow up to 5 people. Sometimes kids will say, I'll have 6 or 7 people. Then I really have an understanding, oh, they have no boundaries. They just let anyone in, right? We're really understanding their attachments, their indiscriminate attachments, or their inability to attach. I don't let nobody in, okay? So, after we do this, there's 1 wishing well. Remember when I said, when something comes in this world that's not good, that doesn't keep it safe, it goes into the wishing well, and it comes out as something different, something positive. What I'm teaching is resiliency, transformation. You know, you can turn something negative into a positive. You can. And it's interesting what children choose. What's going to be the danger that's going to come in this world? What's it going to be? It's going to be that flying dragon that's going to come in and try to eat me up. Interesting. That's like an introject. They're always feeling attacked. They're always hyper-vigilant. Something's not safe here. So we put that dragon into the wishing well, and it comes out as butterflies. Peaceful. We transform it. So let me show you this example, because it's fascinating. Okay, this was an 8-year-old boy. He'd been in like 9 foster homes, and he was in his last home because he was fostered to adopt. Parent was very invested in this child. I gave him all the rules. He started making his locks. He did a lot of locks. And then what he does is he rips the doors open and says, I don't need those. And this was a child who would not attach to his foster adopt parent. Indiscriminate attachments, would walk up to any and say, hi. Did not know how to feel safe and secure. had no boundaries whatsoever. So that was really interesting. Then when I said, okay, make your house, he made a car. And I said, oh, how come a car? Again, be very curious when you're always approaching a child's artwork, because they may think, are you judging? When you have an attitude of curiosity, there's a non-judgment and there's a safety. So I said, oh, how come there's a car? So I'm like, wow, intrigued. Because he's always moving. My castle's always moving. Well, this child was diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, your internal castle is always moving, isn't it? So I just validated, oh, so it's always moving. Then he had some maids in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, this kid's been in like 9 foster homes. A lot of people, a lot of congestion. He had maids, and I kid you not, I said, oh, what are the maids for? To clean up all the chaos. I almost fell off my chair. I went, really? There's a lot of chaos in there, huh? Wow. Now I understand why you need 5 maids. He was telling me so much. And all I did was provide him the opportunity. His storage building was video games. As he said, that's the only thing that helps him feel calm, video games. And there is a connection with children who've had trauma histories, because the video games, the rush of the excitement, keeps them in this hypervigilant state of homeostasis. It keeps them in this normalcy. That video games are not healthy for them. Yes, it regulates them, but it doesn't help them work through it. It keeps them in that hypervigilant state. It's limiting the video games with these kids with these challenges. There were some animals in there. So when he made this, and there was some monster driving it, like he wasn't even driving his own internal castle. He had no control. Okay? So I thought about this and I said, okay, what's my job? To help defragment, put some order to this chaos. So when I saw him the following week, I said, you know what? My job is to help you. I'm going to be one of those maids who cleans up the chaos. So what I said, we're going to do it again. However, I created a house. I said, and I asked his permission, will you let me create a house that's planted? You can still have your car, but could we park it in the garage a little bit? Would you allow us? And his father was there to do this. And he thought about it. He said, all right. So he was slowly trusting, allowing us to help him with the chaos, bringing us in. It was amazing. He had his family in there. He was able to organize this chaos. There was a room that was like a maze, very confusing. I can't find my way out. Here's another one. The playroom was a mess. There's a hot tub. There's a bed. There's dogs. And this dog was eating this dog. So still a lot of internal interjects. I mean, his internal light world is not safe. So, and then he put his car in the garage and was able to leave it there. But in the car, it still had a bed in case he needed to leave, because he'd been in 9 foster homes. I don't know if this is permanent. I may need to leave again, and I need to take care of myself. So it's very informative what these light worlds provide for us as the big people understanding, and it provides for them. And what you can do with this is you can continue to ask the child and process, you know, what is this picture? What does he need to feel safe? Because he feels scared. What can we provide for him in here so that your light world is calm and peaceful and safe? So this is like weeks of intervention with these. So that's the shadow light world. And then at the bottom, I have some phrases that I tell children is, this shadow world is a place where you can always go to feel safe. It's always with you. Sometimes the outside world is scary and your needs aren't met, but in this place your needs are met. And you can go visit it from time to time to time. And you are in control of the scary emotions. That's what the wishing well is. You can manage those scary feelings and turn them into something resilient, something positive. So the next world is part 2. Part 2 of the shadow world, I use black paper. And what I was thinking was, okay, we've got 2 worlds inside. We've got the shadow world, where we stuff our stuff and we don't want to deal, right? The dark, Carl Jung, the shadow. We all have it, what we don't want to deal with. I said, oh, perfect. I'll have kids express the parts that we don't want to look at, and we'll put them in a place, but we'll acknowledge them, we'll see them, we'll process them, we'll understand why they're there, and make sense of it. So it's the same situation as before. In the light world, there's a secret door that can travel to this world. Okay? So again, they make the door to the shadow world. And this is still a work in progress. And she put this evil-looking face. You do not want to go in there. And very interesting. What I put in here is, again, it's a central castle, but there are guards. There's a jail. There can be a cemetery. And what I've been incorporating now is there are drawers that are labeled, that things go in there and you shove it closed. You don't look at it. Really fascinating what kids do. This exercise works really well with teenagers. You'd be really surprised what they do. And it gives them an opportunity through art, because it's so difficult with kids who've been in 9 foster homes to really express their experience. They don't know where to begin. So this provides them containment again, structure. And because it's through art that you can gain expression. So she put a lot of buildings here. This girl was 13. She'd been in probably about 2 group homes and 4 foster homes. So there were a lot of buildings that she'd been to. She had a jail. And I remember she wanted to put her birth father in this jail because he'd actually been to jail for selling drugs. And then she had a cemetery. And this was a place where she put someone who in her past has died. And we haven't gone to the drawers yet, but I'm sure we're going to have a lot of drawers in this one. So that's one example. In the shadow dark world, this was interesting. He said this was a boy, he was about 10, physically abused in his foster home, and then physically abused by his birth family. In this shadow world, he has someone kicking him over and over and over. That there's a part of him in his dark world where he just feels victimized. Also, he's not the boss in this world. There's a big dragon telling him what to do all the time. And this kid had a lot of trouble with bullies. He was victimized all the time. He was always being the abused or hurt person in a situation. He always got away with the, short ends of the stick. And so here's him. Oh no, here is the guy saying, do what I say. And here's him. And he's trapped and he has to listen. And when he doesn't do what this guy tells him to do, he gets victimized or eaten by the dragon. I mean, just really deep internal understanding of his internal process. What else does it say? Oh, you have to break a code to get to the other world. So it's not so easy to get to that safe, secure, calm place. You got to break a code to get there. You got to earn it. So he doesn't feel that he deserves to be in that place. He pretty much lives in this place most of his life. Because with that boy, we didn't have a light world. He wanted to do the dark world, the shadow world. This, he created a prison, a lot of guards. This was his secret door to the light world. And there were prison guards that were these animals and guns. And so pretty interesting stuff here. Let me see what else I can find. Oh yeah. So this one, she put a bee in the front. You gotta go through the bee to get to my shadow world. And she's asking me, this is an 8-year-old girl, she says, you have to draw the lines like this, Jeanette. And she's showing me, it literally took us like 2 sessions to just do this. She wanted, I said, oh, what is this? What is this movement that we're doing? She goes, it's static electricity. And she was also diagnosed with ADHD, and she was always hyper, like literally like a static electricity, like just buzzing all over the place. You know, this was just this part of her that had no containment, was out of control. And this place is not safe. You can't even walk in here without getting buzzed. It's not a safe place. And that was all that she was able to do. And so what I would say was, what can we bring here from the shadow world and bring to the light world and transform it to make it safe? What can we do? What does this place need to feel better? So really integrating both parts. And then this we're still working on. Yes?
On that one, it's interesting that both the bees and the electricity both buzz and both sting.
Yes. Both buzz and both sting. Really fascinating. And she had a lot of fear in her life. A lot of fear. You know, again, we're processing. Is that what life feels like to you? Lots of buzzing and stinging? And you put it in that dark world because I can't feel it. I don't want to feel it. I mean, I really help make sense of, in my curiosity, wow, I think you're telling me that your life is like an electricity all the time. You're always on. Is that what you're telling me? Getting her to make sense of her own internal world. That's what we live in. And that's what psychotherapy is about. Learning to make sense and not be afraid of your own mind. That's what our goal is. As a therapeutic parent, to help your child through that, as clinicians and social workers, to not be afraid of our own minds. Because these kids are terrified. Because in their minds, there's a lot of experiences. And they were victims. And now they're learning to take control and understand that they can manage it and they don't have to be victims anymore. But it takes a lot of work. They need a lot of tools. My sad bag. My sad bag is sad. Oh, a sad girl. A sad girl. Okay, so this one, again, like the anger bag, and people have said, are you like the bag lady? Because I have a lot of bags. But they do provide containment, and it gives the child a place to go to, and it has tools. So I created the anger bag, my sad bag, the stress bag, my out of control bag. So I just kind of went bag lady crazy. But I realized it was working. Why stop? So with this, the same thing. You need a bag. Again, I talked about, the color that I associate for sad is blue. So a blue bag, and it doesn't have to be this. You can get these for real cheap on orientaltrading.com. You can get like 10 of them for $12 or something. Or you can get a bag at the grocery store. A tear pillow, again, just a pillow case that the child's going to draw on, which will be their sad pillow. Paper to draw with crayons. What I've incorporated too, here's paper, is a small photo album, and we'll go through all of these. 1 pack of Guatemalan worry dolls. This is optional, but does anyone know what Guatemalan worry dolls are? And I can show you how to make them. Yes.
The ones that you put under your pillow.
Yes.
You tell them whatever.
They're worry dolls.
Yes.
In the legend in Guatemala is they're little dolls, and if you every night before you go to bed, if you tell them one worry and you put it under your pillow, the next morning all your worries will go away. I gave this to one girl, and the next week I go and see her, and she was really mad at me. And I said, "What did I do?" And she said, "Those worry dolls didn't work." And I was like, "Oh boy, what do I do? How do I, okay, the worry dolls didn't work." Because really, they're a crock of, like they're really going to fix the worries. But my goal was to get her to express with her parent at night, just express what the worry is, and then the parent would know what it was. So then I thought, okay, let me be creative out of the box. I said, "I know, you need even bigger worry dolls. They're too small." And she's like, "Yeah." So we made bigger worry dolls. We just made out of cloth and little like paper popsicle sticks, and we wrapped them with yarn. So you can make them. You just wrap them with yarn, different colored yarn, and put faces on them, and then put them in a bag. And the child can tell a worry to each one, because that's how they make them in Guatemala, pretty much. They just put yarn, thread around them and painted them. So bubbles for the sad bag and index cards for sad busters. I have been also getting books for kids on what is sad, what is a sad feeling, or you're going to create an experience book. What do I do when I have feelings? What do I do when I have sad feelings? Like that book I had passed around, the Blue Day book for that child. What they can do when they're feeling blue. You can give them a book. You can have them create their own books. And this child, this was a boy, he said, take a walk. You take a picture of the child doing the intervention. Take a walk, hug from mommy, snack break. Those were his 3. And I like 3, because I said that before. You're going to pick 3 interventions. 3 is a nice assortment. It's not too much, it's not too little, and it's clear. We do 3 at a time, because we don't want to overwhelm them. Giving them 10 interventions, they're not going to be able to do it. So I'll show you this book, because you haven't seen this one, right? What do I do when I have feelings? And the child decorates it. Okay. So with this bag, again like the anger bag, we're going to tell the child, we're going to create a sad bag because we've noticed you're having a lot of sad feelings. And we're going to give you some things to do with your sad feelings. So the first thing would be the tear pillow. The tear pillow, again, is drawing a picture. I like clouds because why? This is a container, and I tell the child the cloud is going to soak up your tears. So you can go here, you can cry, and the cloud will soak up your tears. And hold them. Again, a container, a place for the child to go to that's going to help hold them. Some kids when they're adjusting to a new family, too much touch with the potential foster adoptive family is overwhelming. It's too much for them. They can't fully allow crying into a parent's arms. They can't do it. So we have to respect where they are emotionally and give them another opportunity to, yes, let out the feelings in a safe way so they don't feel threatened. So that's the sad pillow. The next is magical wish journal. Now what I was thinking when I thought about this is, in depression, we need hope. And when I think of wishes, it's a wish for hope. There's something I'm thinking of outside of this depression, out of this sadness. There's something better, like the cloud. You know, there's a silver lining behind every dark cloud. That's what I'm helping kids understand. So I have them create a wish book. It's just a bunch of paper, and they can write wishes. So for this, and you'll be really surprised, again, child's communicating, child's expressing. What is it that they wish for? I wish for a trip to Disneyland. They may be 12 and they've never been to Disneyland. I wish for a new doll, like the one I had in my foster family that disappeared when I moved. You know, maybe the doll I received from my birth father on my last visit 5 years ago. That meant so much. We don't realize those are attachments too. I wish for a visit with my brother. It's really interesting what kids put in their wish books. Now this is an example for you today. I don't have an original because they're with the child right now. But I really like this tool too because it gives them hope. And then they can share them with their parent, and then the parent has an understanding what they're wishing for too, and can possibly make it come true if they're able. We can't all go to Disneyland, it's pricey. But we can go out for ice cream. Okay, so the next one is paper to draw. Again, it's paper for the child to draw their feelings, write words, thoughts, anything they're feeling about feeling sad. And the sad bag has a lot to do with the grief and loss of the separation, not only from maybe the previous foster home, but that birth family. Or the siblings I lived with and then I haven't seen them because we're all in different homes. There's a lot of grief and loss for these kids, and we need to acknowledge and give them a place for it. A small photo album. What I do with this, and you can get these at the dollar store, and you know, for clinicians and social workers, this expense does not come out of your pocket. It's, we need to purchase these 5 items. You know, you present to the foster parent or the potential adoptive parent, you know, we're going to do this intervention. Can you provide me with? People have a lot of these things just sitting around the house, you know. So I know I'm asking a lot of you because this, you know, adds up financially, but you can always ask the parents to provide these because they are receiving monthly stipends for the child. So coming down to the photo album, I wanted to create an album of pictures that the child could look at to self-soothe and nurture, things that they like. So a mermaid swimming in space. A dog makes me happy. We all need visualizations to transform our experiences. I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to go look at the sunset today, right? That's what I'm teaching kids. You can find things to nurture and give yourself what you need. There are opportunities. You can do this. You're not helpless. I think that that's the bottom line here. I'm teaching kids. We may be feeling helpless, but we can help our helpless feelings feel better. A dog. My old preschool. This is a picture of a little boy, and I'll pass this around, who adopted an animal. He did an animal adoption. He was so proud. A baby face makes me happy. This little, I don't know what this is, chipmunk. Anything that a pig with little boots on. You know, things that make a child laugh. A baby. Just some fun little things to instill. Again, we want to transform that cortisol into oxytocin. the love hormone. Even our bad feelings, our hurt feelings, deserve love. And I don't even like the word bad. Even our hurt feelings deserve love and attention. So here, just a cute assortment of pictures I pulled together. And you can pull pictures together too for the child if they don't know necessarily what makes them feel good. And then the Guatemalan worry dolls, which I explained before. Bubbles, blow away, disappear technique. With bubbles and all of these interventions, once the child chooses 3, they all have parameters. We only use the bubbles in the kitchen. They're not on the nice sofa in the living room. You know, there are rules around everything. And what I tell children is I want you to think of something you're sad about, blow it into the bubble, and watch it disappear. What this is also doing is teaching them how to breathe. I want you to take a big, deep breath, blow it out, and watch the bubbles. Just watch. Stillness. They can pop them if they want, but there's something calming and soothing watching bubbles. Just like watching, you know, the leaves. It's called mindfulness. You're being mindful of the moment. You're slowing things down, taking your time, which a lot of these kids don't have that skill and are not taught that skill. They need it to be modeled and they need it to be directed, taught. So I like bubbles a lot. Let it out. Take a big, deep breath in. Let it out. Teaching kids how to breathe is really good with bubbles. Okay, so the next thing are those sad busters, like the anger bag. And for this one, I made some big cards. You don't have to do this, but if you feel you want to, go ahead. Type up sad busters on one side and what the child does. Asking them first, before you give them your suggestions, because they're the experts, what do you think is a good sad buster for you? Let's think. When you have sad feelings, what do you need? Because every kid is different. There's no cookie cutter way. Ask my parent for a hug. They can tolerate closeness when they're sad. Go get my bubbles and blow 3 wishes into the air. Take deep breaths slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say the tongue twister, silly Sally sang dilly dally sitting on a swing. Go to my mirror and make a funny face. Write my sad feelings in my journal. Cross my arms around my body and give myself a big, big hug. That's a good one. We all need self-compassion. You know what? What they've been through is a lot. You deserve to give yourself a hug. You've been working so hard. You've had so many people come in and out of your life. That must have been so hard for you. They need a lot of empathy for their experiences. A lot of validation. That yes, you're in pain. Yes, we understand. Yes, I get it. And that's why I'm providing you with this stuff. Because you need it. Cry on my tear pillow to catch my tears for me. So that's the sad busters. And then at the end, they pick 3. They go in the bag, and the bag goes someplace special in the house. Could be in the child's room. Wherever it's safe, because this isn't a toy. It's not played with, but it's practiced. So if sad feelings happened yesterday, let's write some of those. Let's draw a picture about the sad feelings you had yesterday. Because remember, in the moment, they're not going to be able to utilize this. It's the processing after or preparation for. If you're anticipating they're going to encounter some grief and loss by seeing the birth family on a visit, which I see all the time. So that's the sad bag.